Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kay Jacobson. I'm a librarian with the Ramsey County Libraries, and it is my great pleasure to welcome you to our last in our fall session on the schools of psychology. Um, Today's program is brought to you through the co-sponsorship of the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute of the University of Minnesota with the Ramsey County Libraries and the Friends of the Ramsey County Libraries. We are thankful to all of these institutions for making this program possible. So thanks. I'm going to be turning things over soon to our speaker, JB Andersen, who is the creator of the popular ongoing series on the American presidents. JB has also been a, an educator, curator, writer, and he served over 25 years with the University of Minnesota. So without any further ado, we will be turning things over to JB. Okay, that's what we're seeing, JB.
Good. I am ready to begin. Um, Let me get positioned a little better here. There we go. Um, we discussed sleep and dreams last week and got about halfway through the lecture. And today we're beginning with sleep disorders. And the first one we're going to talk about is somnambulism. You've all heard of this, even though maybe not that word. What the heck is somnambulism? Well, it is sleepwalking, such as we see here. It's also referred to as noctambulism, which means evening walking. So sleepwalking. These are actual photos that were taken of a man in Paris, France, who was out sleepwalking. And here he is. All he's got on is some underwear. Here's another image of him, people looking on, using their cell phone here to take pictures of him, what's going on with this guy, and so forth. Well, he is sleepwalking. Parasomnia disease. That's para means about or near, and somnia means sleep. So it means a sleep disease. You're nearly asleep or about asleep are the terms that are used, even though it's not a light period of sleep. It's also called a slow wave sleep state, and it's a period of low consciousness, but you're able to perform activities that go pretty well. Benign activities, things where you're not out walking, for instance, or you're not outdoors, or, they're not something that's interrupting other people. You might just sit up in bed and you just sit there, or you might walk to the bathroom. Or you might start cleaning the house, but you're doing interior things. You're not going outdoors where other people can see you in your night clothes. I have a sister who would get up in the middle of the night and brush her teeth when she was younger. And hazardous activities that sleepwalkers frequently engage in is cooking, where there's heat. They'll get in their car and start driving. Can you imagine? Violence toward other people, grabbing at things, throwing things, etc. I have no memory of this place. No memory of sleepwalking is what happens during the sleepwalking phase. Oftentimes, eyes are open. The expression is kind of, you're glazed over, though. Sometimes people have their eyes shut. Uh, Sleepwalking can last a very short amount of time, like just 30 seconds, half a minute, or can last an extended period of time, such as half an hour, which is really a goodly amount of time to be unconscious yet up and about. It occurs during the first third of the evening, the first third of being asleep at night, uh, not during mid-sleep or in the morning hours. So, and generally, it occurs just once a night. It's almost never that people get involved in sleepwalking more than once in an evening. Oftentimes, sleepwalking people are talking, but it makes no sense. It's garbled language. Epidemiology. Uh, that's a study that was done across a wide group of people who have this particular uh, activity of sleepwalking. It involved 100,000 people. And what they found out was that it occurs in about 5% of all children. But by the time you reach adulthood, it has decreased considerably and is down to 1.5% or less than 1/3 of adults are involved in sleepwalking. The cause is unknown. There's theories. You may have had lack of sleep over the previous couple of evenings or week of evenings. And of course, that lack of sleep can make you excessively tired, but you might be tired from something else, not a lack of sleep from some sort of work. Also, people report feeling hot, warm, they're feverish during these time periods. The cause is unknown. There are some theories. Medications can cause it. Antidepressants, B blockers, and ambient and other drugs. So sometimes taking of a drug to solve another situation in your life causes you to walk in your sleep. There's also a genetic component. If both of your parents had experienced sleepwalking, the odds that their children will sleepwalk is 60%. Diagnosis, polysomnography. This is a test you can give people, and it gives you a graph such as you see here. It's it's a scientific method, uh, very expensive to do, consequently, virtually never done because really doesn't, you already know the person's a sleepwalker. Diagnosis. Uh, we're going to look at reports about the diagnosis of sleepwalking that involve the self, the parents, and the partners. So often people that drink too much confuse this with an alcohol blackout. People that take drugs say, no, I wasn't sleep. I just had a blackout, some kind from the drugs I've been taking. And so they don't recognize it as something that it really is. 50% of all people do not remember blackouts. Half of the people, you wake them up and they go, oh, yeah, I was sleepwalking. Uh, but during sleepwalking, all sleepwalkers, whether you remember it or not, are active, sometimes conversational, mostly uh, garbling conversation. Very little amount, 0.06% of alcohol can cause sleepwalking also. Sleep cooking. This is dangerous. You're at a place that's got heat to it, and then you're heating something up, which makes that hot also. Sleepwalkers who cook uh, suffer from weight gains. Treatment. There are drugs for sleepwalking. There are herbs that people take. Yoga for relaxation. Uh, Hypnosis often would work in the past, and regular awakening of a person can keep them from sleepwalking. Set your alarm for every 2 hours, turn it off, and so on. here's a woman doing some yoga in a very dangerous position. And remember, a lot of this stuff is historic. Psychologists don't follow it today, but much of it's science, and I've reported that when there's been research done. If you can't walk straight, how can you stand on one leg on a railing over water? Anyhow, pharmacological treatments, you can see here, there are 7 different pills that you can take, uh, varying on what works with you. So there are treatments that are pharmaceutical. Treatment again. Waking a sleepwalker, how do you do that? Well, here's a guy with a couple of symbols and he's ready to clap them together, but there's no evidence that waking a sleepwalker is harmful, although that had been a myth. Don't wake them up, they'll be panic stricken, etc., or they might do something or whatever. But uh, the major effect of waking up a sleepwalker is they get disoriented. Where am I? How did I get here? Treatment. There's protection at the house. So if you're inside the house, the odds are you're going to be in better shape than if you're going outdoors, unless you're cooking something, of course. People that sleepwalk regularly can buy an alarm, such as you see here. And if they open a door, an alarm goes off, waking other people in the house or disturbing the sleepwalker enough that they go, oh, yeah, okay, shut the door and go back to bed. Uh, so that that device is very helpful. Bedrooms should always be on the first floor. Don't put them up on the second floor if you're a sleepwalker. There's windows there. Sometimes people go out through windows, and that would be very dangerous above the first floor. Houses, apartments, hotels. There are people that when they travel, they have to have a first floor bedroom. Uh, a man who traveled for business. This is a case study. He took a hammer and nails with him, and when he'd stay in a motel, he would hammer shut the windows. But once he fell asleep before he could get that done, and he was 10 stories up, went out the window, fell to his death. Weapons should be locked away with keys, with a key lock of some kind, so that sleepwalkers can't get at them. But just as a joke here, it's, doesn't, does this apply to medieval weaponry? Used to be thought that sleepwalkers are acting out a dream. Whatever's going on in the dream, you're walking and you may look like you're doing the same thing all the time, but you're really dreaming. But but sleepwalking does not occur in the dream state. Last week we talked about these 4 dream states: REM, which is rapid eye movement. That's the lightest sleep, and that's when dreaming occurs. And then you've got alpha, beta, gamma, and delta sleep, being delta being the deepest sleep. After REM comes alpha, you're getting there, and then bang, you're into delta. So sleepwalking occurs not during REM sleep when you're dreaming, but during the deepest sleep, delta. So most people are really seriously out of it when they're sleepwalking. Sleepwalking has sometimes been used in criminal cases. This person is a sleepwalker. Now they did some damage, or they seriously injured or even killed someone. Well, you can't count that as criminal activity. They were unconscious. They weren't aware of what they were doing. They are a sleepwalker. So the crime was done without any volition or knowledge of what you were doing. However, how do you prove the person was indeed in a sleepwalking state when they committed a crime? And so it becomes of concern. There's an opera written by Bellini in 1831 called La Somnambula, with that term for sleepwalking, somnambulism. So you can see this was recognized and written about. Uh, this is a couple hundred years ago. A fiancée of a man, Amina, pictured here. She sleepwalks into another man's bedroom during this opera, and she's discovered there by the man she is engaged to. And in the opera, the man decides to marry another woman. Then he sees his first intended bride walking on a very narrow strip of wood walkway at a mill, and becomes concerned about this. So he takes her back. It becomes girl finds boy, girl loses boy, girl wins boy back. He realized when she was sleepwalking on this narrow plank at a millery, um, that there was indeed no uh, intent when she was found in another man's room. This is Jenny Lind, known as the Swedish Nightingale, probably the most famous female singer in the history of operas. In 1847, she did two performances as Amina in La Somnambula. And she did those performances in Manchester, England. And she actually walked on a thin board, such as you saw on a previous slide. Sleep disorders. That's the end of somnambulism. Now, narcolepsy. This is suddenly and unexpectedly falling asleep. You're sitting at a computer and bang, your head hits the keyboard. Usually, that narcolepsy is a neurological disorder, something to do with the nerves. And this sleep period can last from a few seconds to several minutes. Sometimes people standing up and talking to someone else suddenly fall to the ground. And this is narcolepsy. Sudden loss of muscle strength, you just go into a state of near total relaxation. And that frequently is called cataplexy, but it's related to narcolepsy. You're asleep. Symptoms are brought on by strong emotions, usually stress. So research on people that fall asleep for no apparent reason are in a period of stress. There's an inability to move. They frequently report hallucinations, seeing things, etc. Cause is probably due to low levels of neuropeptides or rexin. And that's a a chemical symbol for that particular uh, item. Treatment, central nervous system stimulants. And again, these are drugs. So once we get into the drug era, we have treatments for these items. And here are five drugs that are used to treat narcolepsy or the sudden uh, loss of consciousness. Enuresis is the next sleep disorder that we'll talk about. It is wetting the bed, nocturnal urination, or nighttime bedwetting. Most common in boys, seldom occurs in females. It's in younger people. No known cause. Those that have it They don't find any physical abnormalities, no emotional abnormalities, and people that regularly urinate in bed. We're going to look at 5 causes. Slower physical development. In other words, you're not keeping up physically with your age group. Sometimes also it's been noticed that people that nocturnally urinate or urinate in their bed have smaller bladders than is normal, but you outgrow that. Uh, Most people stop urinating in the bed at the age of 5. Some continue until the age of 12, and then it stops. Causes 2 of 5, overproduction of urine at night. So you get too much urine at night and you're sleeping well and it doesn't wake you up. Instead, you release it. Uh, Overproduction of urine at night. This is an anti-diuretic hormone. Diuretic means you can relieve yourself. So we want to make it so you can't. So it's an anti-diuretic hormone, ADH. Uh, and usually that's in pretty low production during sleep, so you can take a pill for it. Enuresis causes, here's what we're talking about. Uh, your bladder isn't full. Here, this pink bladder is empty. It fills up. You get no sensation of it filling up, but you urinate anyway. Anxiety can be a cause of nocturnal urination uh, in some cases anyway. So stress or anxiety. Item 4. Again, start continuing with item 4. If you urinate at night, that in itself is stressful. You might wake up and the bed is wet and you go, oh no. So that just deepens the anxiety, the stress. 5 of 5, 77% of all children with 2 parents that have uh, uh, urinasis is also, they also have it. So if both your parents had wet the bed, 77% chance that you will too. If you had one parent that uh, suffered from enuresis, then you got a 44% chance of getting it yourself. After the age of 5, uh, the numbers drop by about 15% a year. So you got 100% of the people that wet the bed. Age 6, you got 85%, you got 70% at age 7. After age 12, it's virtually come to an end. It has stopped I mean, 99.99% of the cases. Um, Here's a way to deal with it. There's a moisture alarm. It's a pad such as you see here, and it's water sensitive, and it will give off an alarm. So at night, this pad starts to get wet. It'll wake you up, and you go, "Oh no, no, okay," and then you can get to the bathroom for the remainder of your urination. And this was invented, 85 years ago, 1938. Sensor is safe and it's very effective as a training item. ADH pills, we mentioned, they increase the hormone that suppresses urination. It's also calms the bladder muscle so it doesn't open up and you urinate. It relaxes that bladder or keeps that bladder muscle from over relaxing. Another treatment is urinate on a schedule. Set an alarm for every 2 hours during the day. When that goes off, go to the bathroom and try to urinate. This is known as timed voiding. Also, don't drink any caffeine. Caffeine is a diuretic. It causes urination. So if you go caffeine free, that can help. And relaxation, doing things that will relax you. For instance, a yoga class, such as you see here, among young children under 5 who are urinators. Hey, get with the program, kid. A history of it. Here is some Egyptian hieroglyphs that have been translated to show that this was a problem. Uh, it's 3,500 years ago. This is a portion of a hieroglyph here that defines bedwetting, enuresis. Sleep and dream books. This is Arianna Huffington. You may have heard of her. She's a journalist. I've seen her on TV being interviewed, but she has written a book called The Sleep Revolution. It is available on Amazon, $10.43. And it's about how to change your sleep patterns, how to make your life better. Take it, that famous phrase of one day at a time. She says one night at a time, and you'll get over difficulties you might be having with sleep. This is a Harvard psychology professor, Matthew Walker, Why We Sleep. And that's $10.09 in paperback. And I'm not dealing with why we sleep, but there are some reasons. We tend to sleep at night. That's the common practice, unless you have a different work schedule. Many people feel that the reason we sleep at night is because that's when predatory animals would come out. And if we were awake at night, we'd be in danger of being attacked by a lion, maybe, for instance. So it prevents you from being killed by other animals. And there's lots of other information that you can gather from Walker's book. Sigmund Freud, The Interpretation of Dreams. This is one of his most famous books and an early book on dreams. Today, interpreting dreams that a patient has had is generally, as a matter of fact, it's seldom done, if ever. This is my copy of the book that I've had for, I don't know, 60 years probably. You can get it on Amazon in hardcover, $16 to $20. And that's the end of our sleep and dreams category. We're going to spend the remainder of the time today talking about a psychologist, Ivan Pavlov, who was an early psychologist. Many people have heard of him. Almost everyone's heard of his major discovery. So let's take a look at his name first. Ivan Petrovich Pavlov. Ovik means son of. So his father's name was Petro, or Peter in English. So it's like having your name, like my last name, Andersen, means I'm the son of Anders, etc. Peterson, you're the son of Peter in Scandinavian countries. Dittir, Ditter. That's on a female name. Julia Ditter, son. Or Julia Peter Ditters, which means daughter of Peter. So in Russia, daughters use the AVNR at the end of their name, or sometimes it's OVNA. It's Avna or Ovna, which means daughter of in Russian. So here's a man with his daughter. Interesting thing about this is you always have a different last name than your parent. Birth and death of Pavlov. He was born in Ryazan, Russia. Here's Moscow, so you can see on the same river and south and east of Moscow. He was born on the 26th of September, 1849, living until the 27th of February in 1936. He's 87 years old, and he died in St. Petersburg in the Soviet Union. So here's where his birthplace was. And you can see many miles to the north in this port city for Russia on their western side of Russia is St. Petersburg here. I once, I had a student who told me, I'm from St. Petersburg, but I'm living with people in Duluth and I'm going to school here. And I thought he was talking about St. Petersburg, Florida. And he told me, he says, well, I'm going home over the Christmas holiday. Oh, have a good time. I said, hey, gee, if you have any pictures, bring them back for me. He comes back and here's all these old buildings, and I'm going, that's not St. Petersburg. I said, Florida? He said, no, Soviet Union. His English was perfect. You'd have never guessed that the guy was from St. Petersburg, Russia. Early life of Pavlov, his childhood. He was the oldest child in a family of 11 children. This is not his family, but here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. These must be triplets or something down here. Anyway, different family than what's shown. Same number of children, though. As a child, he fell off a very high wall, such as you see here, and it had a solid base down where you walk. And so he hit on solid pavement, and it really affected him. Delayed his education. He didn't start school till 11 years old as a result of the concussion that he received from this fall. So 11 kids in the family, 11 years old, he starts school. Are you into numerology? Well, we're going to talk about that for a couple of slides here. His father was a Russian Orthodox priest. They got uniforms over there. This is not his father, but it is a guy from the same period. His father was heavy into numerology, like 3, 12, and 40, which are big numbers in Christianity. So numerology, 3, 12, 40. 3, Father, Son, and a ghost. There were 12 apostles. There were 40 days in the wilderness. Jesus went out there to pray. There were 40 days Noah on a ship at sea until the flood subsided. And you can get books on biblical numerology, and there are people who are very strong believers in that. His early life, education. He attended church schools, naturally. His father was a Russian Orthodox priest and was aimed at the priesthood himself, entered seminary but quit. Then he moved into St. Petersburg, where he attended the University of St. Petersburg, but got interested now in natural sciences, math and physics in particular. Here's the University of St. Petersburg, some of the buildings at it. And the lower right picture is the very broad hallways in these older buildings and very decorative. He did undergraduate research on the nerves inside the pancreas and won an award for it at his college there. And this is the pancreas. It's malfunctioning in the pancreas that causes diabetes also, type 1 diabetes. So anyhow, I'm never going to eat corn on the cob again. He did graduate work at the Imperial Academy of Medical Surgery in St. Petersburg. This is the building. Notice it has a dome. Everything during this time period almost was domed. And so he did medical surgery graduate work at this building in St. Petersburg. The Imperial Academy of Medical Surgery. He specialized in physiology, and that's how body parts function. So you can see all these different organs and glands around there. Oh, two domes on this building. Did graduate work at the Veterinary Institute and the Medical Military Academy. Both of those were in this building. Of course, he was in the Medical Academy, not the Veterinary Institute. And they emphasized military wounds, actions, diseases, etc. His doctoral thesis was on the centrifugal nerves of the heart. So here's a drawing of the heart and lots of areas described in the heart here. And he was interested in the nervous system of the heart. Work life. Germany. Yep, he moves to Germany, but only for a couple of years. His first job was in Breslau, Germany, and you can see it's in the far southeast section of Germany. Here's Berlin, centrally located, and there's Breslau, where Pavlov worked for 2 years. Digestive system of dogs is what he did research on. After 2 years, 1986, he goes back to Russia. So he's wondering what happens to this food. And of course, dogs were used, not humans, in measuring digestion, which he worked on for this 2 year period. Now he's back in Russia. What's his work life like there? He goes back to the Military Medical Academy for 5 years, where he teaches pharmacology, and that's pills, as pictured here. So pharmacology there wasn't a whole lot about it in the 1880s. I mean, it really started to explode after the 1880s. And 1891, Institute of Experimental Medicine. And he was the head of the physiology department and worked there for 45 years. So that was his long-term settled in job. 1895, he added on a job to the one that he had for 45 years, and that was being head of the physiology department, and he did that for 30 years. Nobel Prize. 1904, the Nobel Prizes were, they certainly weren't 20 years old. I think they might have been about 10 anyway. He won the Nobel Prize in Medicine for the work that he did and published on digestion. And remember, he'd done a lot of that work on dogs back in Breslau, Germany. With this medal that you receive as a Nobel Prize. You also get money, and you're paid in the Swedish kroner, which is pictured here, a 5 kroner bill. The prize money was $20,000 in 1904. In 2025, by inflation, that's $728,000. So a pretty healthy sum. I mean, really make a difference in your life in 1904. In 2025 now, the Nobel Prize pays $1.2 million. Now, these prizes are paid like if there's 3 winners named who did the research, say in medicine, then they split this $1.2 million. They each get 400,000. You win it individually, you get 1.2 million. So in the 1960s, I had a professor who won a prize. He was gone for 6 weeks. We had like 10-week classes at the University of Minnesota. They were quarter systems. And he was gone for 6 weeks because he needed some abdominal surgery. He had a major portion of his stomach removed. And when he returned, he said he was sorry about his absence, that he wasn't there to lecture for us. But the reason he was gone is he had won the OLLI Prize. Let's take a look at Pavlov and his involvement in psychology. Pavlov's worked on digestion, and that's what led him to the field of psychology because he noticed things about these dogs. He noticed that when he was preparing the dog's food, the dog would salivate, knew what was coming. Totally gross, though. Yikes. There's another one, salivating. Salivate sounds like celebrate, so there might be some good aspect to it. Pavlov called this the conditioned response, and this is what made him famous. It's highly regarded after the Russian Revolution, praised by Vladimir Lenin, who was first head of the new Russian government when they overthrew the Tsar there. Soviets continued to fund his research. He was a critic of communism, however, but there was a lot of that soon after the revolution, so it was overlooked. He protested how Russia was teaching or how they were treating most scientists. He'd won a Nobel Prize. He'd done a lot of very important research, discovered things, so he was seen as a really important part of it. This is Molotov, who was another one of the major leaders in the Russian Revolution. He wrote letters to Molotov and to Stalin once Stalin became the head of the Soviet Union, asking for better treatment for scientists. Now, this is Vyacheslav Molotov. That first name, no wonder we only use his last name. Not all bad. There's a cocktail named after him. Not what you see here. You put gasoline in a bottle and a rag in the bottle. You light the rag and then throw the bottle at something and it breaks open and the flaming rag creates a heck of a fire. So, Molotov cocktail. Research. Intro here to the research he was doing. 3 major areas of research that Pavlov got involved in: the reflex system, the nervous system, and education. Now, that's something that isn't bodily, but it ends up applying to where his research took him. Let's look at the reflex system first. And for him, this meant research into digestion. So he surgically implanted drainage tubes in dogs. Now, this really isn't that bad. I mean, you can look at it. It's just a thing hanging down the side of a dog's mouth, but here goes. There, he would implant these drainage tubes into a dog's mouth so the saliva would drain in there, and then he could measure how much saliva was draining. So I had a friend who had two Great Dane dogs, and in the kitchen, he used an electric can opener to open their food. Now, whether he was feeding them or not, anytime he used that electric can opener, they came running from wherever they were in the house. So, uh, that's what Pavlov was talking about. What Pavlov would do is he'd ring a bell, then he'd give food to the dog. After several days of this, the dog would start to salivate when the bell was rung because the dogs knew food was coming. Nervous system. Stress a dog. This is what he did. He usually did it with electric shock. He'd give them a little shock and stress them. And it wouldn't be very long after several of these shocks that their body would just shut down. So time to shut down varied tremendously between dogs. So he wondered about that. This happens to all the dogs, but some of them it takes 15 shockings, and others it takes 5 shockings. And this is a digital clock for those of us living in the 21st century. This is the kind of clock that Pavlov had. Research, education, and this is the biggie. Dogs came first, then kids. He started to apply these principles to humans. He did research on human beings, seeing about this response stuff. He came to call this classical conditioning. You ring a bell, the dog salivates, you give it food. Classical conditioning. It came to be called behaviorism. And it was super giant in the United States, especially in the Midwest. Back in the day when psychologists all found a school of psychology that they practiced, behaviorism was one of them. And the Midwest was loaded with behaviorists. So it's applied mostly in education, but also in criminal science, criminology. In education, classical conditioning involved a ruler. How many times do I have to tell you not to talk to your neighbor? Bang, on the hand. And you do that 2 or 3 times and the kid shuts up. Wrong answer, bad behavior. You can do it not just for disciplinary, you're talking to somebody else. You can also do it for giving wrong answers. You get your hand or wrist adjusted with a ruler. Generally, the hoped for outcome was to accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative. Watch out for Mr. In Between, song written by John Mercer. Pavlov's conclusion is what happens in the environment can change behavior. So somebody slaps you on the back of the hand with a ruler, and that will change your behavior. You don't want that to happen to you again. Applied to criminal behavior and negative thoughts, behavioral psychologists would have people wear a rubber band, such as you see here, around their wrist. Anytime they had criminal thoughts or negative thoughts, you snap that rubber band against your wrist, and that hurts. And you do that until the evil thoughts disappear. The church I went to when I was a student at the University of Minnesota had several professors in it. One of them was a behavioral psychologist. He had young children. Anytime they'd do something wrong, he'd hold them by the shoulder and slap them on the butt. And see, that's like the ruler thing. That's how behaviorists, that's how they eliminate behaviors. So anyway, snap that rubber band. Lots of research done on dogs. Then his accomplices down the ages have you wear a rubber band. Major contributions. Conditioned reflex is another term that Pavlov comes out of Pavlov studies and the field of behaviorism. Others wrote about it before Pavlov did. People had noticed this, but they didn't do the incredible amount of work that Pavlov did. News traveled slow in the 1900s, early 1900s, so people weren't finding out about what other people were saying and writing about. Here's another example of that, not the conditioned reflex, but of a discovery, and it occurred in more than one place. The upper image is Newton, who invented calculus in England. Well, guess what? On the bottom photo is Leibniz, who invented calculus in Germany. They never associated with each other. It just came to both of them in separate places. So there's a lot of ways to condition a reflex in an animal or a human. You can ring a bell, ding. You can sound a buzzer, bzz. You can strike a tuning fork, such as is pictured here, or it doesn't have to be a sound thing. It can be a visual thing. You can hold up an image in front of a dog or a person, then bring on the food, and you're conditioning that individual. So lots of acceptance of Pavlov's ideas worldwide, especially again here in the Midwestern United States, back when these things were something that psychology was involved with. However, these Pavlovian ideas and behaviorism never really had the amount of influence that the Viennese schools did. The Viennese schools were made up of Sigmund Freud, Alfred Adler, and Viktor Frankl. And those three schools had far more followers, but they were on the East Coast and West Coast in the United States, where there's huge populations. In the Midwest, not so big a population. A lot of behaviorists, though. Major proponents after Pavlov was John Watson, pictured at the top here in the 1800s, and in the 1950s, B.F. Skinner, pictured at the bottom. B.F. Skinner created a little house with a window in it, and you'd put your kids in there to play and stuff, and he would watch what they'd do, etc. There's behaviorism has been written about in literature also. This is Aldous Huxley, pictured at the top, wrote the book Brave New World. Everybody's got to behave in a certain way, and it's very controlling. classical conditioning applied to politics. That's what the Aldous Huxley book, Brave New World, is about. Pavlov's death. He died in 1936 at the age of 86. Here's a newspaper that reported his death. Discoverer of the conditioned reflex. Whoops, sorry. Discoverer of the conditioned reflex. He viewed mind and matter as one phenomenon. Russia's only free man. Interesting stuff. Had a short death, became sick, died very quickly. Cause was double pneumonia. And that's the end of Pavlov. Now, I've got some things I want to tell you about that involve next quarter, the winter quarter of 2026. And I'll be doing more psychologists. But then in the spring quarter, I think I'll probably start doing Ulysses Grant, uh, go back to a president, even though I've got several psychologists left. I can intersect them during oncoming quarters and kind of go back and forth here, do a couple times a year, do a president, and one time do a psychologist, etc. So winter quarter 2026. We have a very long break here of about 2 months before these winter quarter classes start. And I'm going to do Sigmund Freud. I think that'll take about 4 weeks of lectures. He's really the giant in these philosophical schools of psychology. And this is Freud pictured here. Over here to our right is Carl Jung, a Swiss psychologist. We'll talk about him. Abraham Maslow down here talks about needs being the huge driving force in the lives of people. And we'll do a section on the sexual research that was done by Masters and Johnson, pictured here. So that's what we'll be doing in a couple of months, are these four people in our lectures. Spring quarter 2026, want to move back to presidents, as I said, yearly. Pretty certain I'll do Ulysses Grant. In the fall of 2026, maybe a president. I've also just finished writing a lecture on presidential power and the increase in it. And I might do a bunch of slides on that. So I won't be talking about a single president, but I'll be talking about what's happened in the presidency over a span of many decades. And we can do psychologists also. Okay, that's the end of that. Now, but I'm sorry, I'm done a bit early here. We
Yep.
got half an hour, but we may simply quit when the questions are over, if that's okay.
Okay. Well, we'll see how it goes. People can start submitting some more. We have two to start with. When getting psychotherapy, what theory or method do therapists seem to use today? What seem to
Well,
be
psychotherapy is a Freudian term.
okay, or just psych therapy.
Yeah, but when you get like counseling,
Right.
well, they tend, you want to develop a relationship with your client so that they trust you. You get the client to speak about what their situation is. You ask questions about it. So that's what's happening today.
Does it seem to be based on any of the psychological, the psychology giants? There we go. Or
Yeah, yeah. The schools of
the
psychology
schools of thought. Yes.
or the philosophical approaches. No, no, it doesn't.
Like,
It's It has to do, you watch for body language, you watch how long does it take for a person to respond to a question you might have asked them. You let them do talking. Um, you find out something about them. You might find that they need a prescription of some sort. If you're a psychologist, you send them to a psychiatrist who can give them a prescription then, and they come back to you. And
It's much more of a mashup of
yeah,
everything that everyone has learned, I would guess. It'd be more of a um,
yeah.
okay. Oh, can you give any real case of sleepwalking as defense of crime?
Oh, no, I can't.
I I can.
Oh, good.
I
Go
looked it
ahead.
up while we were talking.
Yeah.
Um, so I looked this up, and one of the very earliest ones was Massachusetts versus Terrell, which in 1846, Albert Terrell was acquitted in the murder of a prostitute in Boston, where he had slit the woman's throat, almost decapitating her, set fire to the brothel, and then fled to New Orleans, where he was arrested. But his lawyer stated that Terrell was a chronic sleepwalker and perhaps committed the crime while asleep. The jury agreed and found him not guilty. Although many contemporaries did not buy the defendant's version of events, it is the first successful legal U.S. case in which the sleepwalking defense was mounted.
Interesting.
So, yeah, and it goes on. Most of these happen to be murder cases, and the latest, um, California versus Wrights. Stephen Wrights killed his lover, a married woman in her 40s, during what was supposed to be a romantic Catalina Island getaway in 2001.
Hmm.
He ends up smashing her head, things like that. And Wrights told the police that he had no recollection of the attack, though through flashbacks he recalled believing that he was in a scuffle with a male intruder. He had worked as a commercial fisherman and told police that the wife wounds on the neck were nearly identical to those that a fisherman uses to kill sharks. At trial, his parents testified that he'd been a sleepwalker since childhood. The jurors didn't buy it. They did convict him of first-degree murder in 2004. So it was used as a defense, but at this point, um, the juror's decision was presumably influenced by the defendant's history of violence towards her. So, because he had done something like this similarly, so he actually had a record. So that was not the last successful one. Um, yeah, it's not flying as much in the 90s as it did earlier. Um, so 1987 is the last successful case where it was used.
Mm,
So it's very interesting. You have to prove that there's no previous intentions, things like that. It's very, like they said, it's hard to prove that someone's actually sleepwalking, um, at that time unless you would say have recordings. I don't know, but it has been used successfully.
Well, thanks. Yeah,
Okay,
interesting.
someone says that case sounds like a good case of woman abuse and buying the man's story, especially since she was a prostitute, that early one.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Which can definitely be seen. But any other questions? Please feel free to ask. Um, what was I going to say about the sleep disorders? You can see where some of it, the psychology comes in, like with stress and anxiety weighing in, maybe um I don't want to say precipitating the or helping cause that to become a factor, in terms of how people act during sleepwalking, or like with the enuresis, the bedwetting.
Any erases, yeah.
Enuresis, thank you. Um, Yeah, I could see where that definitely would be. It could trigger there. That was my, it's like, what's my word? It's trigger um some of these things, but um okay.
Another thing that could be looked up, I suppose, is uh, what's the degree of punishment received by these people? Maybe if that is indeed a case and they've been sleepwalking much of their lives, you don't give them the death penalty, for
Right.
instance. Just
I
that,
think that that was one case that they did not apply the death penalty, but but they still convicted the person.
sure.
Okay, how did operant conditioning arise out of classical conditioning?
Hmm. Well, I don't know how that arose. I think just further studying and thinking about it, and people come up with phrases, and they have noticed something in their practice, like Pavlov. That's a Pavlovian idea. Uh,
Hmm.
and, they slowly develop these concepts as they move along and do research. And of course, Pavlov was coming out of a scientific kind of background, and then what he started discovering became uh, very much an environmental thing.
Right. And I think it's because that's B.F. Skinner's theory. It's someone taking a previous theory and just changing, um, doing it intentionally versus observing what was happening. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Skinner was very popular, lots of writings, and we're all old enough to remember him. And if you
hmm.
took a psychology class, you may well have heard his name back in the 50s to the
Yeah.
80s. And
Right. When you think about, it's just it's building on those who've come before you a lot of times. And I think that's how it arose out of classical. It's just he was building on things he learned about himself in psychology, I'm sure. So,
yeah.
okay. Um, Still time for more questions, people. Anything,
Well,
anything
sorry,
you
I
Oh,
was
now is
talking too fast, I think.
I was gonna say, who do we have the movie coming out about? President McKinley. There's a new movie coming out. I didn't know if you were aware of that. Um,
No.
I want to look this up really quick because have you done McKinley in a while?
No, I haven't. I don't know when I last did him, but it's been some time. Yeah.
McKinley movie.
McKinley was, while you're looking that up, I can say McKinley was one of the presidents that was assassinated. He was the third one in a 35-year period to be assassinated. And that's when the Secret Service began. And when he was assassinated, his vice president was Theodore Roosevelt, or Roosevelt. And that's when Roosevelt became famous, was due to the McKinley assassination. McKinley was assassinated when he was visiting a kind of a it was a big show. People would come to it like a
Oh,
state fair.
okay. And this is why I get it wrong because I'm just like thinking just him. And it's like, no, it's about Garfield.
Oh,
So, it's like you associate certain things in your mind, and I'm just like, oh, it's McKinley. It's like, no, no, no. It's
yeah.
called Death by Lightning. And
Garfield was assassinated, all second president assassinated after there was
and it's
Lincoln, then Garfield. And
and it's
Garfield was just like 5 months into his presidency.
so that is actually on Netflix. It's a mini series.
Yeah.
No, which is getting high ratings at the moment, so far. And I think it is out now on there. So I was just like going, oh yeah, I always like to point out things like that in case people want to watch a good presidential base series. And like
Uh,
Michael Shannon's in it, and I
mm.
think he's starring as Garfield. So,
McKinley was also very active in the 1876 election. Now, I'm just rewriting my lectures on the 1876 election. A man named Samuel Tilden ran against Garfield, and the uh, and he won that election. There were um, three states in the South that Republicans got those three states not to report their votes. Tilden had won all three of them, but those states ended up reporting the winner as being um,
Garfield?
no
Oh, a different.
Rutherford Hayes,
Okay.
reporting him to be the winner, and he illegally won the presidency. Then
Okay.
we've heard of Rutherford B. Hayes, as he came to be known, and uh, he served the whole 4 years. And Tilden uh, is the only president that ever won a majority of the vote and didn't become president. Now, there have been three, I think it's three other people, including Hillary Clinton, who got more votes than the person they were running against, but they didn't get a majority of the popular
Mhm.
votes. And in the case of Tilden, he did. So I'm also, there's been requests over the years that I start talking a little bit about the opponents in presidential of presidents during the presidential race. And so I am going to do Tilden
Yeah.
sometime in
Yeah.
the future here. And
The men who did not become, or not just the men,
yeah,
did that, those who did not become president. Um, okay, still no more questions. And just want to say, let's see, a couple things. Um, I think if you're with Ollie, the catalog will be online this Friday, is what I think November 21st is what it said. And let me double check. No, I don't have it up currently. But yeah, the 21st, and then registration begins sometime in December. The dates are up on the OLLI website. Um, I'll be getting things posted up on the library website for people to be able to start registering. Um, since it's 2 months out, yeah, I'll probably start putting that up in the next week or so. People can start to register. There's a couple other ones I moderate too. Those will start showing up on there also in the near future, hopefully before the end of November, they'll get up on there. Um, So yeah, so either way, you can start looking to register probably beginning of December for the classes. And starting January 21st, I think, is the first um, School of Psychology one that we'll have on Wednesdays. So other than that, let's see, I think we're currently up through think week 4 on the thing. Um, Grayson's been having to deal with a lot in terms of trying to get those up. So hopefully, before Thanksgiving, we'll have a lot more of the videos up on the OLLI YouTube website and the library website. So in case you've missed some, you can go and check there. Otherwise,
the
anything
reason for
else?
the long break here between fall quarter and winter quarter is there's big holidays. There's
Well,
Thanksgiving, and there's Jewish and Christian holidays, and later in December, and people want to go out of town, and so they've left that period open
yeah,
in November and December so that people can do a lot of the family stuff.
right. And I think things generally start around MLK week. Let's see, right after that. Let me look at that. Yeah, Martin Luther King Jr. Day is the first day of the OLLI winter term.
Yeah.
So, which is the 19th of
And
January.
there's also Muslim holidays.
Oh yeah, there's lots of holidays between now and Martin Luther
That
King
yeah,
Jr. Day. So,
that has to do with the stars. You
yep.
know, we get to December 21st and uh, things change. The days start getting longer and so on. So consequently, a lot of the religious holidays are grouped around astronomical events.
Oh yeah, the equinoxes and the
Easter, the
yeah.
yeah, they're
So, okay, otherwise, if there is nothing else, I know
thanks.
that we will let everyone out early because it's not a nice day out. So I'm not going to say necessarily go outside and enjoy a great day. But the weather's going to be a little bit better as we get into the weekend. So I hope you get to enjoy some part of your week coming up here. Have a good holidays, everyone. And we will see you again in January.
Thank you.
Yep. Thanks, everyone.